Joining us now, Democratic Senator Heidi Heitkamp and Republican Senator Bob Corker. And Senator Heitkamp, I know what a rhino is. What is a Democrat from a Dakota exactly? What do we call
practical?
What do we call you? Practical? I see you two.
She is a good lady. I don't want to hurt her back home. She's good to work with. She's actually got a brain.
I know that. What are you saying? So what? I'll start with you, Senator. We're all glad that we're not going to hurt the American public anymore in terms, and I think it does to some extent. If one person was unable to find work because of this self-inflicted wounds, we got to stop with this. But it's 3 months is only 3 months. What's going to happen?
Well, presumably, people are going to get to work now for the first time. We've got a budget conference committee. We'll see what happens. I think the signals are great today with the two chairmen sitting down and actually having coffee. But we've got a long road ahead, and I think the most important thing is that we put the interest of the public and the American taxpayers ahead of political interests, and we can get this done.
Everybody thinks they're doing that. That's the problem. And we want everyone to try to, I don't know, at one point we're asking each side to move away from their positions, but then again, when we think about it, Senator, we understand both sides think that they're doing what's right for the American public. That's why it's so hard to find some common ground.
Well, what I see around here a lot, Joe, is there's a lot of great locker room talk.
You're talking about us in the media, aren't
well,
you?
Actually, there's a lot of locker room talk. People talk really big at once, but when it gets ready to signing a bill that actually has these tough things on it, it's hard to find the folks with you.
All right.
Let
me tell you what we've been talking about here. Grover Norquist was on, said absolutely no revenue, even if it's closing loopholes. How do we get somewhere towards entitlement reform if one side says absolutely no revenue and the other side says I won't talk unless there is revenue? We're right back where we started.
You know how we got here is people drawing red lines. We're not going to do this unless I get what I want. We're not going to do, the thing is everything should be on the table. That's where we should be today.
Should no revenue be on the table with the president?
No, I think everything needs to be on the table.
So that's the red line then.
Right.
He needs revenue, but he's not going to be on the table. But you guys already got, some people would say you guys already got a lot of revenue.
Well, let me tell you, there isn't anyone in this town who hasn't been talking about tax reform as a method forward to close loopholes, to try and do what you can. We all know that our nominal rate in the corporate income tax area is too high. I think that the actual practical rate comes down quite a bit, but the nominal rate sends the wrong message. I think there's some commonality. There's some common ground, and if we can sit together and do housing reform, if we can sit down together and decide what we're going to do.
Squawk box together. You can. What do you say? How are you going to do it?
Be optimistic.
Revenue? Raise some more revenue? Give them more money to spend?
First of all, we just had revenue and no spending reductions at the first of the year. And there's all kinds of ways to have revenue. There's
Democrats say we got to take it all the way back to the Budget Act where you did get some.
But there's dynamic scoring. You can actually do some things with the way the tax code is that really isn't raising rates but generates a lot of revenue. So I think there are a lot of things that can be looked at. Look, for what it's worth, I don't think there's going to be a, quote, big deal in January. I think what we need to begin to do is to look at mandatory reforms and look at those relative to the discretionary cuts that we have in the Budget Control Act. I think one of the victories in this last process was we kept those Budget Control Act ceilings, and the fact is it's the first time since 1955 and 1956 we've had 2 years in a row with less government spending. Now what we need to do is look at what we've done with the Budget Control Act and sequester and make it more intelligent, and I think that's going to be a really good step positive, and I think that's what the real focus is going to be over the next 90 days.
Your head guy in the Senate, Harry Reid, I watched him for 2-3 weeks ago. He was scaring me. He was so adamant and so tough. Suddenly he turned into a gentle, kindly old, he even was picking his words about what to call it. He came around a little, McConnell came around a little. Here's my question though.
Okay.
The president really doesn't seem to like Republicans very much and really doesn't seem to want to get into these negotiations with people that I don't think he likes. On the other hand, there's people that really don't want to say yes to the president on anything on the Republican side of things. Is there going to be any lessening of the just personal acrimony that there seems to be between the two?
I want to kind of walk that back a little bit because I think the president, Bob, you've been with the president a number of times, right? Invited there to talk about the problems, talk about how we're going to move forward.
He's not nodding.
Yeah.
Has he been? Is he like you?
So look, Joe, there's a little bit of an opportunity over the next 90
There's
days.
a little bit of
and I want to say this. Look, I actually wrote a bill and put my name on it, okay, with entitlement reforms. It was a balanced approach. Did it a year ago right now, as a matter of fact. And look, I'm willing to get out there and do the tough things. I just hope we can find some partners that are willing to go beyond rise above and talk and actually put their name on a bill that will solve our nation's problems. I'm willing to do it. Lamar Alexander has done it. There are a few people in the Senate that will actually sit down and put their name on a bill. That's what I'm looking for, and I think that will help us move this debate along. As far as the White House goes, I do think there is possibly a little bit of an opening to look at some mandatory changes. The president showed some leg, I'll have to give him some credit, last April in his budget where he put some mandatory reforms in place. And so, look, I think the real place for discussion is going to be, again, substituting some of those mandatory forms for the discretionary cuts, so that if you look at and still with the same amount of reductions in spending, and if you look at the second 10 and third 10, you've actually done something great for our nation. I think that's where most of the focus is going to be, and I think we can get there.
We're going to rise
with your help. We're going to rise above.
Is Fargo in your state, or is it any other one?
No, Fargo's in North Dakota.
You're in North Dakota?
Yeah.
Real good. You betcha. Can you do that for me?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? You can. Are you going to barf
sure.
from this?
Yep, I sure
anyway,
can.
Wonderful. We got a hard number coming up. Senator, thank you very much for coming on. I think you two guys are part of what we need. Anyway.